Hello everybody, this is Ramon Ramirez here with Smarty Cartoons, and we're going to be sharing with you a couple of short lessons. Today we'll be working with two buttons today that we find on our menu on our left. The first one, by right clicking it, you'll find that it has several, but today we'll be working with a spot healing brush tool. As you can see here on the left, if not I'll be able to show you a graphic of this a lot closer at this point, which you should be seeing at this time on my screen and your screen. This is known as a spot healing brush tool. Now it has a letter J next to it, and I'll be using at this time Photoshop CS5, and it may or may not be the same control, but if it is, all you got to do is press on the keyboard the letter J and your spot healing brush tool should pop up. Now how do we use this brush healing tool? You're going to be using it several ways, but let me show you how I use it, and then you can use it and modify it to your lessons. I'll be zooming in on my face here. And it can be used, for example, let's say you have a certain, item on your face, and you're like, well, I'm gonna kind of get rid of that. Maybe there's a spot, or there's chocolate, or whatever. In my case, let's say there's this mole, and you're like, well, I don't want to have anything on here, so I want to keep it, professional, and just, some people want to just get rid of stuff because they're so detailed nowadays with photos. But this is how you would use it in case you want to modify things on someone's skin, and this is how they use it, of course, professionally in other elements such as magazines. So what we're going to do here is, this is my spot healing brush. I clicked on it, and I'm going to hover over this area here that's not exactly like my skin color, and so simply almost like using like when back in the day you would use whiteout, you were going to brush it over, and remember it's a healing tool, so it's almost like applying makeup to the skin. So I'm going to press on it, and it goes black. See the black area? That's me brushing over the area. I'm gonna let it go, and voila, it's gone. Other areas you can kind of spot heal by doing this, and in a very subtle format you're gonna get rid of certain areas that will kind of clean it up and make your skin a lot smoother. Some people use this for certain photography sections, and maybe they just want to have a clear skin, and nobody's gonna be perfect, but some people love to dabble in the sense of corrections. So that's how you would use it. Spot healing brush. Once again, if you have a spot you want to get rid of, just click over it, and you can hover over it again, and it's gone. Therefore, it's called a spot healing brush. And sometimes it works, sometimes it won't, because there's certain areas maybe they're too big, and it'll kind of create a different element on there, but it's good for small areas. And that's how you would use the spot healing brush. So that's one button there. Our second button will be used on this section of the menu, and this is called the clone stamp tool. There's another one called the pattern stamp tool. Don't work with that one. We're focusing on the clone stamp tool. Make sure it's highlighted here. It looks like a stamp for those of us that are old school. Remember what a stamp looks like. And you're going to stamp an area. Let's go over to this character here with our friend who plays the role of Harley Quinn. We're going to focus on this mask. Okay. Now, if you notice, my brush is super big, and another tool that you can use, in case you don't know, by pressing on the keyboard, if you press the caps lock, it gets rid of your circle. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out, well, how do I know how big my brush is? Click on caps lock, and it appears again. And you go up here, of course, and you modify your brush to a different size. And this is an okay size, so I'm going to use that. And how you use the clone stamp tool is in the following manner. For example, I have this area here that's white. It doesn't exactly blend in with the mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this full area as the area that I'm going to clone, which means imitate. So I'm going to click on the alternate button on my keyboard, and I'm going to hold it down. As I'm holding it down, I'm not pressing anything else. Right now I'm just hovering over this area, and I'm going to press on this area right here because that's the point that I want to work with. So I'm going to click it either with a mouse or with your digital tablet, and I'm going to press on it, click, and then what I did was I set a starting point of which area I'm going to imitate. I'm going to imitate this area, but this area will be imitated based on my brush down here. So watch what happens when I press over this area. It creates a second element. As you can see, a little plus sign popped up, and that area is the area that I'll be cloning. So as I move my circle, so does my plus sign. And as you can see, I'm imitating the top part, and it's imitating the texture on the top. So do you see this area? It's now cloned. Here what it's doing is it's kind of imitating the area that we would clone if we press on the alternate click again. But as you can see, that mask is cloned. Over here I'm going to use the spot healing brush because these are little dots that I can get rid of. Once again, I go back to my spot healing brush. This is a big circle. It doesn't have to be that big. I'm going to click over that white area here. Click once. It's almost like I'm brushing over it, almost like as if it had whiteout, but in the reverse mode. And see how sometimes it can blend in or not, and later you can modify that with a brush. But this is the spot healing tool. I'm clicking over areas that I want imitated as much as the background, and it very nicely blends in the rest of my colors. Here's a white area that stands out. I click over it a little bit more. There you go. Notice this white area in the black area. I click over it with a spot healing brush, press on it, I'm brushing over it, and then we're done. Going back to the clone stamp tool, once again, I want to clone this area to hover over this area so it looks blended. So this white area here looks like this dark area here. And keep in mind you can use this to imitate, because you can easily use a brush over it, but whenever you print it, it may seem like it's darker than the original color that you thought you had. So it's better just to clone it. So once again, I click on the clone stamp tool to my left. I hover over the area that I want to clone, and I'm going to set it by clicking or pressing down on the alternate key. I had now pressed down on the alternate key with my finger, and I'm still holding it down. I'm hovering over the area until I feel comfortable, and I think, well, I'm going to start here and then imitate all of this area. So I'm going to click on this corner, click, there I go, I pressed it, and then I will then move my brush over here, and as you can see, it creates the second element, which is the plus key, and that is the area that I'll be imitating over here to my left on my brush. So as I hover over this area, it's imitating the texture that is in the plus area. And so there you go. It imitates that area and it's fully covered. Don't have to worry about that part. And so that's how you would use the healing brush and the clone clone tool, which is here. This is the clone tool. Let me just show you one more time. Clone tool, and then the healing brush. So once again, that is a sample. Now let's go to a bigger area so you can kind of see how this works on a larger scale. On my shirt, I have a button down area here. And let's say if for some strange reason I don't want the buttons there and I just want a plain shirt, and I'm just giving you an example, of course. This is how you would use, once again, the clone stamp tool. Clone stamp tool, I have it already set. I'm going to make my brush a little bit larger, like about this size, and I'm going to go ahead and imitate this area of my shirt onto this area. Okay, so once again, what I have to do is I hold down the alternate key on my keyboard. I'm holding it down. It creates this brush tool, and then what I have to do next is click on the screen of the area that I want to imitate. So I click on it just once, click, and I have that area imitated at the starting point here. I then hover my brush over here, and it starts to imitate. Once again, it created the element of that plus sign in that area that I cloned, and my brush is imitating that lower area of my shirt. And in a very soft manner, it eliminated my buttoned up area. So as you can see, it's gone. And that's how you use the clone stamp tool on a larger scale. So very minimal areas that you can work with. You simply save your image up here, file, save as, use it as a JPEG, minimum 200 resolution, or depending what your assignment is calling for, you can do whatever you like on those settings. Once again, this is Ramon Ramirez helping you with a little bit of tips using the healing brush up here that looks like a band-aid, and the clone tool, which imitates areas that you can use to heal or clone certain areas to help your image look a lot better, or just to enhance your image as you wish. Thanks for watching. This has been Smarty Cartoons. Stay tuned for more as we share more notes on our graphic design element. Thanks for watching Smarty Cartoons.